Two 6-year-old girls huddled beneath a wilting spruce tree, clad in tattered red short-sleeved shirts, their bare feet buried in the snow. One sobbed, her voice fading to a faint whimper. The other sat silent, lips cracked, eyes too still for a child. "We were bad," she whispered, barely audible. They hadn't wandered off, they'd been abandoned, left to fade into the cold. A German shepherd's bark pierced the silence, stepping into the clearing, alert, breath clouding the air like a warning. A man followed, his worn coat and heavy steps breaking the stillness, his face etched with years of unspoken grief. He paused at the clearing's edge, watching. Late winter's snowstorm had swept through hours ago, leaving the forest hushed under a colorless sky. Bare trees, heavy with frost, loomed like silent mourners over the frozen earth. A distant city's lights flickered faintly beyond pale hills, its name lost to the story. Ethan Caldwell, 47, trudged through the woods, each step deliberate. Tall and broad-shouldered, slightly stooped, he carried an unseen burden. His dark brown hair, once neatly cropped in military style, now fell unevenly, streaked with gray under a wool beanie. A silver-flecked beard framed a jaw clenched from habit. His icy green eyes, dulled by war, loss, and betrayal, no longer searched for answers. He walked to keep the memories at bay, gunfire, IED blasts, and the final breaths of men who'd once laughed beside him. 15 years as a combat engineer overseas, 5 more trying to forget. Therapy helped little, only Scout remained. The 5-year-old German shepherd moved ahead, sable coat gleaming, black and brown with lighter patches under his belly and eyes. Trained as a K9, his gait held a soft instinct now, loyal, sharp, patient. Ethan adopted Scout after his handler, Ethan's closest friend, died in their last deployment. Both returned scarred, bound by trust. Scout sensed Ethan's trembling hands, his creeping darkness, and Ethan relied on Scout's quiet warnings. That afternoon, Ethan planned a short loop near the wood's edge. But Scout froze, ears perked, a low growl rumbling. He darted into dense trees, nose to the wind. Ethan cursed, chasing him, cold biting through his gloves. "Scout, what is it?" he called, branches snapping against him as his heart raced. He stumbled into a clearing, and the sight shattered his guarded heart. 2 girls, no taller than his thigh, pressed together under the spruce. Their pale, windburned faces were chapped, cheeks red. Matching red shirts, torn at the hems, and thin skirts offered no warmth, their bare feet blue in the snow. One cried, shaking, hands over her face. The other, eyes hollow, stared ahead. Scout approached gently, tail low, whining as he nuzzled the crying girl's hand. She flinched, then touched his fur. "Lily," the still one whispered. "Rose," the crying one added, their names like fragile secrets. Ethan knelt, peeling off his gloves, the cold stinging his skin. "Hey," he said softly, voice unsteady. "You're safe now." They didn't move, but they didn't flee. Lily's gaze clung to Scout, drawing warmth from him. Ethan draped his coat over their shoulders, engulfing them. "I need help," he muttered, fumbling for his phone. The screen resisted his frozen fingers, but a signal flickered. 911, what's your emergency?" the dispatcher asked. "Ethan Caldwell," he said, urgent. "I'm in the woods, a mile northeast of town. Found 2 girls, about 6, freezing. No shoes, no coats. They need help now." The dispatcher's tone sharpened. "Condition?" "Awake. One's crying. Hypothermic, definitely. I've got my coat on them. There's another snow system coming. All emergency vehicles are grounded for the next 2 hours due to road closures. Can you shelter them temporarily?" Ethan hesitated, glancing at the girls. "Yeah, I've got a cabin nearby." "Can you keep them warm?" the dispatcher asked. "We'll send responders as soon as it's safe." Lily had curled into Rose, who rested her hand on Scout's back, clinging to him like a lifeline. "I'll take care of them," Ethan said. "Just tell them to hurry." "We'll check in every 15 minutes, the voice replied. "Stay on the line if you need anything." Ethan pocketed the phone and knelt gently. "We're gonna walk now, okay? Just a bit. Scout, lead us." Lily stood first, Rose clinging to her. Their legs wobbled, but they followed Scout silently through the snow. Ethan didn't press them with questions. He just walked, guiding 2 fragile girls and 1 steady dog. The snowstorm raged on, thick white curtains lashing the cabin's windows, muting the world to a gray haze. Inside the sturdy wooden cabin, Ethan moved deliberately, still grappling with the moment. 2 6-year-old girls, barely dressed and nearly frozen, now lay curled on his faded couch, wrapped in a quilt smelling of cedar and faint smoke. Their names were Lily and Rose. He jotted them down, as if names could tether them to safety. By the stove, Ethan stirred oatmeal in a battered pot. The girls had barely spoken, only whispering their names after Scout nudged their hands with his nose. Scout now stretched across the floor, a quiet sentinel between them and the door, ears twitching at the wind's howl. Ethan wasn't built for this. After the war, he'd distanced himself from family. They couldn't grasp his silences, his nightmares, or how loud noises froze him. He'd carved out a rhythm in the woods. Chop wood, feed Scout, walk the same path. But this was chaos. He glanced back. Lily still held Rose's hand under the blanket. Their soaked shirts dried by the fire, but they hadn't touched the clothes he'd offered. Their pale faces, lashes crusted with melted frost, held no tears. That scared him more. Kneeling, he set 2 bowls on the low table. "You don't have to eat," he said, voice rough but soft, "but it's warm. Might help." Lily's eyes flicked to Scout, who rose, sat beside the couch, and rested his chin on her knee. She reached for a spoon. Rose mirrored her. Ethan exhaled. Progress. The cabin, built by his grandfather and patched by his father, stood solid but bare, no electricity, just lanterns and a propane stove's hum. He grabbed more blankets from a trunk, along with 2 faded thermal shirts and thick socks. Turning away, he mumbled, "Change if you want," unsure if they heard. They did, under the covers. Ethan sat at the table, scribbling in a worn notebook, their condition, what they ate, how they moved. He'd called the sheriff as required, the line crackling. "Keep them safe," the dispatcher said. "Roads are closed. We'll check at first light." Ethan wasn't trained for kids. He'd led men through sniper fire, but oatmeal and silence felt insufficient for these bruised souls. He noted to boil water for their feet. Later, as the girls slept fitfully on the couch, Ethan draped another quilt over them and sat on the floor, watching Scout watch them. The dog hadn't blinked all evening. He'd nudged them to eat, pawed open a dusty toy chest, and placed a small stuffed bear by Rose without prompting. Scout, 7 now, black and tan with sharp eyes, had retired early from K9 work after a leg injury. Ethan took him in after his handler's death. They were rarely apart. Scout understood what Ethan couldn't say. "You're why they trust us," Ethan murmured. Scout's tail thumped once. Outside, the wind roared like a beast. Ethan leaned against the wall, shadows dancing on the ceiling. Memories, dust, blood, screams under rubble clawed at him. He shut his eyes. He didn't let people in, but these girls hadn't asked. They'd been left in the snow, waiting to vanish. He rummaged through the pantry. A can of peaches, half a loaf of bread. He'd ration until the roads cleared. Tomorrow, he'd start the generator to charge the radio. A soft whimper woke him at midnight. Rose clutched the stuffed bear, lips moving in a dream. Lily's arms tightened around her. Scout shifted closer, resting his head on Lily's lap. Her fingers curled into his fur. Ethan stayed still, no words tonight. By morning, the storm had eased, leaving a thick, ghostly snow blanket over the trees and roof. Sunlight filtered weakly through overcast skies, casting a pale blue glow over the forest. Ethan stepped onto the cabin's porch, his breath clouding in the sharp air. He zipped his flannel jacket tighter and scanned the clearing. Scout was already out, his black and tan coat brushing snowdrifts as he sniffed with intent. His movements were sharp, urgent, almost restless. "Scout," Ethan called softly, crunching through the snow. The German shepherd paused, ears perked, then bolted toward the clearing's edge behind the cabin. Ethan followed, heart ticking faster. The snow was uneven, disturbed beyond footprints. Scout pawed at a mound, digging fiercely, snow flying. Ethan knelt, clearing the area. His fingers hit something solid, a plastic bag, sealed tight, half frozen into the ground. He brushed it clean and held it up. Inside were documents, creased but dry, papers, 2 photos, a faded blue folder. Scout whined. Ethan carried the bag inside, spreading its contents on the table under the lantern's warm glow. Lily and Rose slept on the couch, curled tightly, Scout now at their feet. Ethan unfolded the documents, pulse quickening. A worn letter from a county court, stamped 3 years ago, named Claire Donovan as temporary guardian of 2 minors, Lily and Rose Harper. It cited their biological mother, Laura Harper, incapacitated after a car accident. Next was a state-issued benefits card listing Claire and the girls as dependents. A photocopied driver's license showed Claire, early 30s, pale eyes, sharp cheekbones, straight blonde hair, her expression cold. 2 photos followed, one of the twins at about 2, in matching pink pajamas at a daycare, the other a stiff candid of Claire crouching with one girl, her grip tight, no warmth in her posture. Ethan stared, unease stirring. He didn't know her, but something felt off. He switched on the radio, static crackling. After several tries, he reached the county sheriff's department. "This is Ethan Caldwell," he said, voice steady. "I've got 2 kids here, and I found something that might help your case." Officer Bennett's gruff voice answered. "You reported the missing minors yesterday?" Ethan confirmed, detailing the find. "Read the name again," Bennett said. "Claire Donovan," Ethan repeated. A pause. "We've been searching for her," Bennett said. "Disappeared 2 months ago after an eviction from a trailer near Cedar Ridge. No trace since." Ethan's jaw tightened. "And the girl's mother?" "Laura Harper," Bennett said, softer. "In a coma for years after the crash. Woke up last month, memory patchy. Asked for her girls. Said Claire was supposed to bring them once she recovered, but Claire never answered." Ethan glanced at the couch. The girls stirred, small under layers of wool, breathing evenly. "Send what you've got," Bennett instructed. "You've done more than most. I'll run it through the system." Ethan agreed to scan the documents when possible. Roads were still blocked, but a patrol would come once plows cleared the forest line. For now, Ethan was their temporary custodian under emergency protocol. He sank into a chair, the stove's heat seeping into him. "Claire Donovan. Why bury the documents? Why not leave the girls at a shelter? Why here?" Scout shifted, barking once at the door, sharp and clipped. Ethan stepped back into the snow. The prints around the bag were nearly gone, but faint boot tracks led from the treeline, old, half-filled, but real. She'd been here, maybe watching, maybe cutting ties. Ethan returned to the cabin. The girls needed warmth, food, safety, and truth. Somewhere, Laura was awake, asking for her daughters. He jotted one word in his notebook, Claire. The day stayed gray, blurring morning into afternoon. The fire crackled in the wood stove, pushing back the cold leaking through the cabin's old walls. Lily and Rose lay curled under a quilt, fingers tangled in Scout's fur, clinging to him since he found them. Ethan's eyes flicked to the radio as Bennett's voice broke through the static. "She woke up 3 weeks ago," Bennett said. "Laura?" Ethan asked, gripping the radio tighter. "Yeah, Laura Harper," Bennett confirmed. "Car accident, 6 months in a coma at Pinewood General. Came to, confused, asking for her daughters. Said her cousin Claire was supposed to care for them. Couldn't track Claire down. She vanished the day Laura woke." Ethan leaned back, absorbing every word. "She reported Claire?" "Tried to," Bennett said. "But Claire used fake documents, forged guardianship forms, new IDs, a false address. By the time we saw through it, her trail was cold. Paperwork made her look like the legal guardian. Laura had no money, no home, no lawyer. Her memory's spotty, she couldn't fight it." Ethan's jaw clenched. "So Claire took off with the girls." "Exactly," Bennett said. "Your find's helping us piece it together." Ethan glanced at the twins. Rose slept, but Lily's eyes were open, fixed on Scout, her fingers knotted in his fur. He wondered what they'd heard, what they knew. Lowering the radio's volume, he crouched beside her. "Lily," he said softly. She blinked, meeting his gaze. "Do you know someone named Claire?" Her body stiffened, eyes flicking to Rose, then back. He didn't push. Instead, he rested a hand on Scout's back, letting silence settle. Then Lily leaned forward, arms around Scout's neck, whispering into his fur. "She said," Lily murmured, voice barely audible, "we were bad, so she left us." Ethan's chest tightened. "No, sweetheart," he said, brushing her tangled hair. "You weren't bad." Scout licked her hand, nuzzling her. She didn't pull away. That evening, Ethan stepped outside with Scout. The air was sharp, biting. While tossing firewood into the cabin, Scout froze, sniffing in tight circles, a low growl rumbling. "What is it?" Ethan whispered. Scout padded to the treeline, stopping at a half-melted boot print, too large for a child, too small for Ethan. A second print, facing away, faded into the snow. Someone had been here. Scout circled once, then returned. Ethan's pulse quickened. Claire had come back, maybe to watch, maybe to take them. He secured the cabin, locking windows, keeping Scout close. Inside, Rose stirred, whispering for Lily, who pulled her closer. Ethan sat by the fire, Scout at his feet, eyes on the door. He didn't know Claire's plan, but if she returned, she'd face him and a dog who'd already saved the girls once. The wind howled through the spruces, rattling shutters, scattering snow like broken glass. The temperature plummeted, but Ethan kept the fire blazing. Lily and Rose curled on the floor with Scout, blankets tucked around them, staring at the flames like they held the last light in a too-dark world. Ethan hadn't slept since finding the prints. He checked windows, bolted doors, kept his old hunting rifle nearby. His gut screamed Claire wasn't done. He was right. Scout's growl broke the silence, low, guttural. He shot to his feet, tail stiff, ears pinned. Ethan spun toward the door as the latch jiggled. A shadow passed the window. Grabbing the rifle, he eased the door open. A figure lunged from the dark, Claire Donovan. Thinner than her photo, her greasy hair knotted, eyes wild, like glass marbles in a hollow skull. Her oversized coat hung loose, one sleeve torn, a sharp object glinting in her hand. Ethan dodged as she swung. Scout sprang, teeth sinking into her arm. She shrieked, stumbling, but Ethan pinned her to the snow. "Bennett," he barked into the radio. "She's here. I've got her. Send backup." "ETA 3 minutes," Bennett's voice crackled. "Hold tight." Claire thrashed, eyes blazing. "You don't understand," she hissed. "They weren't supposed to stay with her. She couldn't care for them. I did everything, fed them, clothed them. You left them to die," Ethan snapped, breath frosting. "They were going to take the money," she spat. "Without the payments, what was I supposed to do? I couldn't feed myself, let alone 2 kids, Claire spat, her voice raw. Ethan stared, horrified. Scout stood firm beside him, muzzle dusted with snow, eyes locked on Claire. Sirens wailed, piercing the quiet as flashing lights sliced through the trees. Bennett's SUV skidded to a stop, followed by 2 deputies in heavy winter gear. They rushed to restrain Claire, who sobbed wildly. Sheriff Bennett, broad-shouldered, early 50s, with graying dark hair and a thick mustache, wore the weary look of a man who'd seen too many broken endings. "You're done, Claire," he said, voice low but firm. At the station, under harsh fluorescent lights, Claire slumped in the interrogation room, hands cuffed, face pale. Ethan stood with Bennett behind the one-way mirror, arms crossed. "She's talking," Bennett said. Claire leaned forward, voice a whisper. "She was in a coma," she muttered. "I was their only family. Said I'd take the girls for a bit till she woke. But she didn't. The checks came, food stamps, Medicaid. I moved to a trailer, said I was homeschooling. No one checked. Then I heard she woke. Her voice broke. I panicked. Told her the girls died in a fire. She believed me." Ethan closed his eyes, the lie heavy in his chest. "She thought they were gone," Bennett said, jaw tight. "Gave up fighting," Ethan murmured. "No one left to fight for," Bennett replied. Claire sobbed into her hands. Back at the cabin, Ethan found Lily and Rose asleep, curled with Scout between them. The dog cracked one eye as Ethan entered, then shut it, as if saying, "It's done. I've got them." Ethan sank to the floor by the fire, exhaling deeply. He watched the flames, the wind softening outside, and thought of Laura, the call she'd get tomorrow, learning her daughters lived. But he wondered how deep their scars ran, if they'd ever feel safe again. The storm had passed, leaving a world of soft silence and shimmering white. Trees gleamed under the sun's faint warmth, branches sagging with ice. The roads cleared, and Bennett made a call long overdue. Laura Harper arrived 2 days later, stepping from a government SUV sent from the airport. She trembled despite her wool coat, slight at 34, aged by grief. Her tired green eyes and pale skin spoke of years indoors. Her auburn hair was pinned in a neat bun, a nurse's habit from her new life post-coma, a vow to never feel helpless again. But nothing prepared her for this. "Are they?" she started, voice breaking. Bennett, beside her, rested a hand on her shoulder. "Safe. Inside." Ethan waited in the doorway, face weathered, graying beard more salt than pepper, still in his olive jacket and boots. His broad shoulders slumped under the moment's weight. Scout, nearly 6, rose from the girl's side, moving deliberately to Laura. He sniffed her gloved hand, pressed his head to her side, and huffed, ears back. Laura dropped to her knees. "You remember me?" she whispered. Scout didn't answer, he didn't need to. Behind him, the door creaked open. 2 small heads peered out. Lily and Rose stood close, as they had that night in the woods. They wore oversized sweaters and leggings from Ethan's emergency stash, their torn red shirts a fading memory. Their blonde curls, now brushed and tied with matching ribbons, framed eyes carrying shadows too heavy for 6-year-olds. Laura stood frozen. So did they. Then Rose's lips quivered, and she took a tiny step. Lily followed. "My darlings," Laura whispered, voice breaking, "it's really me." Rose glanced at Lily, seeking permission. Lily's eyes welled. "Mama," she murmured. "Mama, really?" The dam broke. They ran into Laura's arms, sobbing, small shoulders shaking. Laura held them tight, face buried in their hair, crying silently. Ethan turned away, boots crunching as he checked the generator around the cabin's side, hiding his face. Bennett stayed by the SUV, hat low, silent. The deputies kept their distance, heads bowed. Only Scout followed Ethan, sitting close, looking up. "That's your miracle, buddy," Ethan muttered. Scout huffed, resting his head on Ethan's knee. Inside, Laura led the girls to the fire. They clung to her hands. Lily kept glancing up, as if scared this was a dream that'd fade into a cold trailer's yells. Ethan returned, lingering at first, but Laura waved him in. "You're Ethan?" He nodded. "Yes, ma'am." "I don't have words," she said, tears rising. "You and Scout saved them." Ethan looked down. "Scout found them. I just followed." Laura's smile felt real. "Then thank you for following." The hours passed softly. Bennett handled paperwork, arranging custody with child welfare. He offered Laura a nearby lodge for a few days, but she declined Ethan's cabin offer, not wanting to impose. Still, the girls stayed that night, sleeping by the fire, Laura curled between them. Scout watched nearby. Ethan stood in the doorway, moonlight outlining him, staring into the trees. He'd carried ghosts into these woods, but one felt lighter now. The courthouse stood gray, a cold monolith under a heavy sky. Claire Donovan shuffled in through side doors, cuffed, eyes hollow. Her once-styled blonde hair hung limp, her frame shrunken in a gray prison sweater. No trace of the woman who'd twisted lives remained. Her lips trembled, not from regret, but from defeat. Ethan sat in the second row with Bennett and a child welfare officer, in a clean flannel and polished boots, face set. Scout, groomed, sat at his feet, allowed by special exception, his black and tan coat gleaming. Judge Eleanor Hart, firm yet fair, read the charges: falsification of documents, obstruction, abandonment, psychological harm. Claire barely reacted. Bennett's case was ironclad, paper trails, testimonies, a chilling timeline. Claire had exploited legal gaps, used her relation to Laura, and cashed state aid while neglecting the girls. Her final act, leaving them in the woods, froze the courtroom. Laura didn't testify. Her written statement, raw with pain and fury, spoke enough. After 2 hours, the verdict came, guilty on all counts. Judge Hart's voice hardened. 15 years, no parole for 10. Ethan and Bennett didn't smile, just exhaled. Justice wasn't joy, it was relief. At a community hall ceremony days later, warmth filled the air. Word of the rescue spread, dubbed the Scout Redemption. Kids wore paw-print pins. Veterans saluted Ethan quietly. Bennett, in full uniform, grinned rare. "We honor a guardian who speaks without words," he said, nodding to Scout. The dog, on a small stage, glanced at Ethan, uneasy in the spotlight. Bennett placed a red and gold ribbon with a bronze shield around Scout's neck. For extraordinary bravery, the North County Sheriff's Department awards Scout the civilian K-9 Medal of Courage. Applause rose gently. Ethan patted Scout. "Told you they'd see it, boy." Rose, in a pale pink dress and cardigan, stole the moment, holding Lily's hand in a matching outfit. Laura watched, hands at her mouth. Rose stepped to the microphone, lowered by Bennett. "Scout," she whispered, voice carrying. "He knew we needed to be loved." The room stilled. Ethan swallowed hard. Bennett looked away. After, people greeted Ethan, handshakes, words of war and healing. Many patted Scout, who stayed close. Dr. Susan Weaver, a psychologist in her 50s with silver-streaked dark hair and sharp eyes, approached. Animal-assisted therapy could help, she told Ethan and Laura. Their bond with Scout is strong, a good sign. Laura nodded. They sleep better and ask for him constantly. Ethan smiled. He's open to visitors. Susan looked at Scout. You'll heal more than just them. That night, snow fell softly. Lily and Rose curled on the rug by Scout, asleep against his fur. Laura sipped tea at the table. Ethan stood by the window, eyes on the woods. The silence felt full. In Cedar Hollow, snow melted, revealing muddy paths and green patches. Winter loosened its grip. Ethan's cabin, once a lonely retreat, hummed with life, cinnamon on the stove, Laura's soft humming laughter. A month post-trial, Laura rented a nearby house with Bennett's and Child Services help, close enough for daily visits. Ethan hadn't expected her to stay, but mornings now brought joy. On the porch, sleeves rolled up, Ethan wiped mud from his hands. His beard was longer, shoulders relaxed, a new ease in his stance. The stiffness that once gripped Ethan had softened, like a bruise fading with time. His eyes still held storms, but they no longer broke. In the garden, Lily knelt by a wooden box of dark soil, her blonde curls bouncing as she held up a tiny sprout like a prize. Her oversized red sweater was speckled with dirt. "Is this lettuce?" she asked, eyes wide with hope. Ethan crouched beside her. "Will be if you stop poking it every 5 minutes." She grinned, and he let out a quiet chuckle. Inside, Rose sat by the fireplace, reading The Velveteen Rabbit, her voice halting but guided by Laura's patient voice. Laura, in jeans and a forest green flannel, glowed with new color. Her light brown hair, now longer, fell in loose waves, and her eyes held a rediscovered peace. Scout had become their guardian. His black and tan coat, brushed daily by the girls, gleamed as Rose whispered secrets to him or Lily crowned him with leaves. Ethan had added a bookshelf to the cabin, now holding photos, the girls' drawings, and a framed badge from Bennett for service beyond duty. He never spoke of it, but late at night, he'd touch its edge and smile. One afternoon, as clouds loomed over the forest, Bennett arrived in his old Chevy truck, stepping out in a thick coat and brown hat. His sharp eyes scanned the property, but his nod to Ethan was warm. "Just checking in," he said, handing over a manila envelope. "Final paperwork for the relocation. Nothing urgent." Late 50s, with weathered hands and a gravelly voice, Bennett bore the weight of his job and the loss of his wife years ago. Ethan offered coffee, and they sat on the porch steps, watching Lily chase Scout with an oversized stick. "Ever think this would happen?" Bennett asked. Ethan shook his head. "Thought I was done." Bennett glanced over. "You just hadn't started." Laura stepped out, waving shyly, her smile genuine. She'd begun part-time work at a local clinic, aiding kids. The town embraced her quietly. Some knew her past, others only her story. The cabin, weathered but alive, hummed with music, Laura's morning hums, the girls' footsteps, Scout's tail thumping. One snowy night, Rose slept with arms around Scout's neck, Lily curled near Laura, her hand brushing Ethan's old flannel. Ethan sat, holding a red tin box the girls gave him, filled with notes, drawings, and a crumbled cookie. Inside the lid, Lily had scrawled, "Thank you for saving us." His jaw tightened. Scout looked up, eyes steady. "They think I saved them," Ethan whispered. "But it was you, wasn't it?" Scout exhaled, resting his chin. Ethan didn't need an answer. Some homes didn't need new doors, just people who stayed. Miracles don't always come with lightning. They come in a loyal dog, a scarred soldier, or a child's trembling hands. Scout had no wings, but he was sent. Ethan didn't seek heroism, but grace found him. Lily and Rose showed that love, freely given, mends deep wounds. Maybe that's how miracles work, through unlikely souls in forgotten woods, in moments nearly lost. That cabin wasn't just shelter. It was where heaven met earth. If you're watching, wondering if your pain has purpose, remember, light breaks through snow. Stay kind, stay open, and trust your Scout. Your miracle will come. May every heart watching find peace. Share this story with someone needing hope. Comment what moved you most. And subscribe for more stories of love, faith, and second chances. Amen.